Alright YouTubers, coming back at you with another watch review, and we're going to look at the Orient Blu-ray. This is a really attractive piece. It's a great budget option for a nice dive watch, and it's an alternative to the ever popular Seiko SK007 and 9 and the Seiko Monster series. Very similar, and we'll kind of compare those here in a minute. But Orient is, as a company, has been making watches for a very, very long time. One of the oldest watchmakers in Japan, and they are actually now part of the Seiko group, and they have been for quite a while actually. So they're owned by Seiko, but they do have their own brand still, and they still manufacture their own watches. You'll see some similarities between some Orients and some Seikos, but I think that's a good thing, because Seiko's, you know, a really well-known company with a lot of history and a lot of good history of making really good watches, especially dive watches. So the Orient Blu-ray is, this model number is the EM6500CD, and this one is, the watch is actually called the Orient Ray, but they call this one the Blu-ray because of the nice blue dial that has really, really cool effects on it when the light hits it right, and we'll kind of give some examples here in a second. But it's got a mineral crystal on it, so no sapphire or hardlex. It is an in-house automatic movement. It's something that Orient makes in-house. I find it very similar to the Seiko in-house movement, the 7S6. Let me just double check that. 7S26, I think, is what it's called. I'm going to look at this SK07 here because that's what it's using. S26, yeah. So I find it very similar. All it really says is an in-house automatic movement. So there is no hand winding, there is no hacking. It's just going to be simply movement, you know, charged by the movement of your body. I do find that it has a good power reserve. It lasts at least 40 or more hours. I mean, it's probably, I think it's rated around 41 hours of power reserve. I think that's pretty good. It's pretty accurate. It has a 41.5 millimeter case. It has a 13.3 thickness of the case, so it's not very thick. It doesn't sit too high on the wrist. It has 22 millimeter lugs, and it has 330 feet of water resistance. So you can see I've got on a nice leather Nato strap here from Clockwork Synergy. It comes, this particular model, this is the box it comes in. Let's zoom out a little bit. It's a nice presentation piece, a little bit different. Usually you have like a nice, it's pretty much a typical square box. You got this really nice rectangular box, and the watch was laid out in it. You have your manual here, Orient Watch Co., your guarantee, and you know, just kind of talks about the mechanical watch, the movement, how to set things. I'm not going to cover all that in the video because it's pretty basic watch stuff. Came with this rubber strap. I'm not a huge fan of rubber straps. Kind of a cool dolphin logo there, you know, similar to diver. If I was actually to dive with this watch, this is probably the strap I'd use, so I keep them. I'm not scuba certified. I don't live anywhere near an ocean, so probably that won't happen. But if I ever did, there you go. Got the option there. Even if I went snorkeling like in Mexico or something, I'd probably rock that leather band. So a nice Orient, nice case, nice presentation on that. So let's go back to the watch here, and let's talk about it. It's really, really handsome. You can see there, it's got some iridescence, I would call it, on the dial, and you can see when the light hits it. It's much better in the sunlight than this artificial fluorescent light, but you can see it there, just how gorgeous that dial is. It's just really, really nice. One thing that I really like about this over the Seiko, well, there's a few things, and we'll talk about those right now. I like the dial. I think it's a little more attractive. The Seiko's, the SK series and the SKX series and the Monsters, they kind of use just like a matte black dial, or, you know, they do have some cool, you know, colored indices and such, but even on the Pepsi, the SK009, it has a blue dial. It's just kind of a really, really dark blue, almost looks black, and you don't really know it's blue. This, you know it's blue. Even though in certain light it looks a little darker, it's got that nice, and that's, you know, kind of almost like a ray of a blue, you know, right there, and maybe that's why they call it the Blu-ray. I'm not sure. This is an updated version, the Ray from the original Mako watch. So, and they actually have a version of this watch that has a sapphire crystal available on Orient Watch USA only. It's exclusive to their website. It is in the US, and it's also US exclusive. So if you want to spend a little bit more money, you can get a a sapphire crystal in this watch. So, which, you know, is a nice feature. I went with the less expensive version just because I'll have some other watches that have sapphires, and you know, it's not a necessity necessarily. I would rotate watches enough to not have it be a problem to, you know, that I wear it every day. It's going to get beat up. So let's go ahead and talk about the bezel. Is really a really good bezel. It's got a coin edge bezel, and you can hear 120 clicks, I believe, on that. It's really solid. It doesn't have any play. I mean, it feels like a more premium watch. Let's compare it here to the, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit. This is the Steinhart Ocean 1, which is a Rolex Submariner homage watch, but it's an expensive watch. It's not cheap, and it's got, you know, a lot of praise in the knife world right now for Steinhart watch. The knife world. There's the channel crossover. The watch world for Steinhart watches, and this is a really impressive piece, but the bezel, it has more pronounced clicks, but the movement is very similar. It's tight. It's not, there's no slop in that. Versus, I will say the one thing I have on the SK series is that it just doesn't feel as solid. There's more play in the bezel on the SK series. I found the Monster series to be a little tighter, but the Blu-ray is really impressive, really impressive bezel. So on the Orient Ray, so that's one thing I really liked about it. It's got a nice tight bezel on it. Not a lot of play there. The hour indices are really nicely done. They're luminous, and I'll show you the Loom. The Loom on this watch is awesome. You've got you got your day and date window here, and you have this date pusher. And it's screw down as well as having a screw down crown, because this is a you know, it is water resistant to 200 meters, so it's a true dive watch. I mean, you could definitely take this and dive with it. It's not, you know, just a dive watch look. It's an actual, you know, dive watch. So the second hand, you got a nice orange, maybe reddish tip on that. It's kind of a nice little color feature that I really dig. And then you have the nice Orient logo, which I'm a big fan of their logo. I think it's really cool looking. So you got a nice sweeping, you know, second hand on there with the automatic movement. It's not stuttery. It's got the movement's actually really nice for being in house. I wish it had hacking, and even more so than hacking, just hand winding. If I don't wear this watch every day, which I don't, I do have like a little watch. No, I'm gonna call it timer, but that's not correct. Winder. I have a watch winder for all my automatic watches, so I leave this one in here a lot. But that would be my one thing I would like to see them come out with. Orient is a hand wind movement, because I know they could do it. Because these movements on these watches are really well done, and they're part of a Seiko, and Seiko has a lot of good hand wind movements. So I would like to see that in an option. I don't believe the Sapphire one that's available in Orient USA is hand wound. I think it's just a Sapphire crystal upgrade. I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. So it's a really handsome watch. I really like it on this leather band too. And I have these NATO straps that that go with it really well. The blue and white really looks good with it. And then if I want to do a little more color, I do the blue and green. So got some nice options there for the strap. 22mm lugs, which means it's not going to be having any problem finding straps. You can, you know, interchange them with your Seikos, because most of your Seiko divers are going to be 22. So it's, you know, my one negative, not really a negative, I wish it was just a little bit bigger bezel. I like dive watches to have at least a 42, similar to this Steinhart, and actually I think the Steinhart might even be a little bit bigger. I'll have to double check the specs on that one. But I know that the SK is 42. They're just a little bit bigger bezel. I like that. That's my only gripe. I wish it was just a hair bigger. They do have an Orient Mako, which is the original version of this watch, XL, that has a larger, I think it's a 43mm case, but I would like to see that. But it's not a huge deal. It's a great watch. It wears really nicely. Let's do a wrist shot for you. Take off the one for today, which is here's a preview of Christopher Ward chronograph. This strap is actually a really thin leather, but it's really nice too. So do a little wrist shot for you, and then we'll do a Loom shot, and we'll wrap up the video. One thing about these leather straps though is they're not as rigid, so they're more difficult to get on there. Now, I have about a 7-inch wrist, like I've said in a few different videos, so you can kind of get an idea of what this looks like. You know, if you have small or larger than that, you may want to go a little bit bigger on the dial. It's all a preference thing, really. A lot of guys don't even measure their wrist, and they just wear these ginormous watches that are way too big. That's, you know, not me. So there you go. There's a wrist shot of the Orient Blu-ray. I think it's about perfect size. Like I said, 42 is my sweet spot. This is just under that, but no less than 40, so it's not too small. It's a great looking watch, and I love that dial. That just how it picks up that in the light, and especially in the sunlight. It's just beautiful. So let's get a Loom shot going, and we'll wrap this review up. Highly recommend this watch. It's a great alternative to the Seiko series. Nothing wrong with the Seikos. I love the Seikos, but it's a little less expensive. I think I paid about $150 for this model, and you can even find them. That was on Amazon. You can find them with a bracelet for a little bit more money. I'm not a huge fan of bracelets. I like these Nato. I'm gonna go either Nato strap or leather over a bracelet. Just not a big bracelet fan for some reason. So let's check out the Loom. For this, I'm going to charge up so you can kind of see what what the brightest you're gonna. I'm trying to get that thing to stay, and it will not. There we go. Get that glare off of there, though. Well, there won't be any glare in the dark. For this, I'm going to charge it up using the ThruNite TH10 headlamp, only because it's. Well, look at that. I mean, I don't even know if I need to charge it. That's just with the natural light, and that's what it looks like just with turning the light off. So I don't even think there's a reason to charge it. It's got exceptionally good Loom. It's right up there with the Seiko. Let's compare it next to the Seiko SK009. I mean, I don't see a lot of difference, guys, and they last all night long. I've had this one by my bedside before, and it lasts a long time. So it's, yeah. Difference being there is no Loom on the second hand, like there is on the SK009, or 7, excuse me. But, you know, really good Loom. I didn't even charge that. That's just the light that was in the room, and I turned off the lights. If I charged it with the light, it would have been even brighter. I just didn't feel like I needed to. So, alright guys, that's going to wrap up the review of the Orient Blu-ray. Exceptional value at around $150 for a nice automatic watch. Orient makes really, really good stuff. I'm going to be reviewing a few more Orient watches because I think they provide a great value. And they're right up there with Seiko as far as quality is concerned. So, a good alternative to the Seiko series is the Orient Blu-ray. Any questions or comments on this one, leave them down below, and we'll see you on the next video.